very first question. I think this is very common question. I have been helping students and professionals for many years now. And one of the most common question that I get from the students and the professional is that why companies ask data structure algorithm questions? Or many of the folks think that are these questions from the tree and the graph only meant for the interviews, or someone uses it for the real in the real projects as well? So do you guys have similar question in your mind? Do you think like what is the reason, like every company, like why data structure algorithm only? Like people say that I want to check your aptitude and they end up asking you data structure algorithm questions. Do you think why? What is the reason for that? Test problem solving. This is what Prashant had said. Murli said logical and analytical skill test. Okay. 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 And does anybody has this question that is trees and graphs only being asked in the interviews, and when you end up in the company, you only write for loop and if else conditions? Have you ever thought out like that? Because I've heard many people saying that you ask so many questions around tree, bottoms up approach, top down approach, and when I end up into the company, I just write a conditional statement and for loops, right? I think most of you have got it right. So one of the reason for any company to go for the data structure and algorithm questions is that every company, if you see the problem that the current companies, whether it's a startup or a big product based companies, are trying to solve is little different, or in fact totally different what we have been trying to solve 10 years back. Before 10 years, most of the problem that we had was mostly mathematical, right? So if it was a mathematical problem, their solution was much easier to do using the computers. But with the growth of the internet, the widespread use of the www thing, now the problems has become more complex, right? It's no more trivial. Everything that we see in the real life, we are trying to bring it into the internet. So for example, take Amazon, right? Initially, whatever the grocery shopping we used to do in the neighbor, we are trying to do it on the internet, right? Initially, the shopping of the clothes, electronic gadgets, we used to go to the shops and do it. Now we're trying to do it on the internet, right? Now, instead of making friends in the real, we mostly rely on the social networking sites, right? So the things that we are, initially we used to do manually, we're trying to make it more, online things. So the things are becoming much, much more complex. And the second thing is that the problems that we are getting today are totally new. We have not seen those kind of problems before, right? So to solve these kind of problems, one need to have, a open thinking, a kind of analytical thinking in which the mind is able to think the new things out of box, right? So there's no set way, there's no set way that one can gauge you whether you will be able to solve a problem or not, right? So there should be a common yardstick through which any company or any person can judge you that given an unknown situation, right, and mostly technical, how will you behave? How will you respond, right? So that is why data structure and algorithms are rounds are basically made in these kind of companies who are trying to solve the real life problems to understand whether, if I give this person an unknown situation or unknown problem in which he have to solve a real life problem, how will he behave? How will he react, right? Every time when you have been given a problem in an interview, expectation is not that you will solve it. But most of the time, the expectation is that, you should react to it. You should behave, you should behave well based on the question that you have got, that, how you solve this. So mostly this is what any company, when they give you any questions around data structure algorithm in initial few rounds, they're trying to judge and understand, how you behave when anything new technical comes on your plate, and how you solve it, how you go for it, how you collect information from, the people around, your understanding your actual technical depth, and you go and solve that problem. So this is about, why any company, ask data structures and algorithms. The second thing is that, are these trees and graph questions only for the interview, or someone uses it for real as well? So yes, the people do use, okay, so based on the companies that you apply for, more, based on the use case. For example, if you take example of Google, right, they have a very, important use case of the graph. So Google use for the graph. Facebook itself again has a very nice use case of the graph, right? So depending on the company you apply for, they do apply, different data structures and algorithm. But the fact is, most of the time you end up doing the for loop or the if else statement. So people do tend to think sometimes that, these trees and the graph are only for the interviews and not for the real use case, right?